welcome back. MTG Joe here. Today is early access streamer event for Wilds of Eldraine. Thanks to Wizards, I have early access to the set, so we get to try out the cards before the general public, which is really cool. We get to try these out. I have a God account. I did not just, save on my lattes every day and get a million gems, but we're going to try it out. We're going to do a bunch of different decks. This one first is going to be recorded for YouTube, but then I will do live stream and we'll hopefully catch everyone there. We're going to start things off with fairies. So fairies is an archetype or a theme of cards in Wilds of Eldraine. We got fairy matter cards. So we have things like Ego Drain, which is kind of like a Thoughtseize effect. But if you don't control a fairy as you cast the card, your opponent then gets to exile a card from your hand. So it kind of wants you to have a fairy in play. There's also Faerie Fencing, which is black and an X. Target creature gets minus XS. But if you control a fairy, they get minus 3/3 as a base. So if you do X1, then that's minus 4/4. So it's a really scalable removal spell. We are playing a Sleep Cursed Fairy. So this one is really interesting of a card. I don't know how good it's going to be in practice. 1 mana 3/3 Flying Ward 2. Crazy stats, but it comes in with 3 stun counters, meaning it can't untap for the first 3 turns of the game. So it kind of sits there. It does enable our early turn fairies, and like once it gets unstunned, it's pretty good. It also, in the late game, we can untap it with mana, so it kind of gets around that stun counter. The ward allows it to stay alive in those early turns as well. We have Faerie Dreamthief, 1 mana, 1/1, enters the battlefield, surveil 1, puts a card into our graveyard if we choose, and then it can be exiled from our graveyard to draw a card and gain a life, lose a life. We have Faerie Mastermind, which can kind of flash in, steal our opponent's card draw kind of advantage by making us draw an extra card. Faerie Vandal, another flash threat. I want to try to keep as many flash threats on 2 as possible to allow us to take advantage of like counter spells or removal, stuff of that nature. So this rewards you for drawing your second card each turn. So you can do that through things like the Faerie Dreamthief, Kaito, which draws you an extra card, and then some of the other effects. Spell Stutter is kind of make disappear, but if you control a fairy, it's mana leak, so just an upside there. We have Obyra, Dreaming Duelist, 2 mana 2/2 flash flying. Whenever another fairy enters battlefield under your control, your opponent loses 1 life. We then have Talion's Messenger. So we're going to try 2 of this card. 3 mana, 1/3 flying. Whenever you attack with 1 or more fairies, draw a card, then discard a card. When you discard a card this way, you put a 1/1 counter on target fairy you control. So some value there. Kaito's more card draw. Trying out a single copy of Spellscorn Coven. So when I originally put this list together, I had 4 of, but I thought it was like Brazen's Borrow. You could just bounce a spell. So this is return target spell to its owner's hand. Spell being on the stack, not permanent. So there is a limited window where you could actually do this. So it does have a kind of a pseudo counter spell, but it's not as good for resolved threats in like late game. It is 4 mana 2/3. When it enters battlefield, each opponent discards a card. So I want to try this out, just see how it plays out. This very well could be cut for just like some other Talions or stuff like that. And then we have Talion, the Kindly Lord, 4 mana, 3/4. This is going to give us a flying body, and then when it enters battlefield, you choose a number between 1 and 10. Whenever an opponent casts a spell with mana value, power, or toughness equal to the chosen power, that player loses 2 life and draw a card. Another way to kind of trigger extra draws per turn. A couple Myrics in the mana base, otherwise just Dimir mana. So let's give this a shot. We will be playing against other streamers today, which will be exciting. So we'll give this a go, see how it plays out, and hopefully get some good games in. Because it's early access, we're trying out a higher density of cards that are new. The intent is really to find like what works out in this new set. We want to see, are new cards really that impactful or not? So I think this hand's fine. We have turn 2 and then turn 3 we can double spell. I'll probably lead on the Faerie Seer or Faerie Vandal. So Golgari colors right now. So I think here I think we wait till next turn to do that. I want to flash in the Mastermind. And then I can do Fairy Seer for 1 mana and kill the Teething Wormlet. So this, with all the food token synergies, plays pretty nicely. So we have Skrell's Hive. So this is just a colorless Phyrexian artifact creature. So this is the kind of advantageous part of that. Show me our secrets. So create a human and they get a food. Removal spell, destroy target creature an opponent controls with mana value 2 or less. This forces them to at least sack, but this lets them double spell. I think it's this here. So they do have a Ganjo that we have to be mindful of. So they're going to use Glare here. So we'll keep this. I think we're just going to do this now because I'm going to want to draw a card here. So we'll trigger this now so we get more power. That was a good draw. Lets us use our mana for the turn. Create a food. Target gets a plus. I think the way we lose this is through poison. So I actually don't care about that, I don't think. So we kind of go tempo here. So far, like, these cards have been pretty solid. Like, 1 mana discard works pretty well. So they can gain 3 life with the food. Fairy's not bad here, so I think we attack in here. At the very least, we can eat one of their threats. They're also just going to be close to dead in the air here. So if they attack with the human, we'll ambush Viper it. Mishiko. That's 11. So they can gain 6, go back up to 11. So we'll eat this. Okay, so they go to 11. I have access to... So that's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Kaito would have been good if we drew that instead. Because now I give him the card draw. So the one benefit, this does make their follow-up plays worse. So we're seeing this later game not being as effective. I went with these because these just can output more damage. Next turn, I can play Kaito, untap this. And then this should be GG's. Taking down Swayze. So, see if we can draw any other cool fairy spells. Oh, it just takes off the counter. Okay, so that's good to know. So that doesn't actually do what we want it to do. So note of that. Because I guess the way stun counters word, if it were to untap, instead remove a stun counter. So we just want to be mindful of that interaction, because I thought it was going to just untap it. So that could have screwed up our math, especially if we were planning on using it as, like, say, a blocker if we had the mana up. So things to consider as we play more games. Flash elements were okay. We were okay for card draw. Sync of Mastermind was good, so we got some value there. Opponent goes first. We go Fairy. We got this combo going, which is nice, so I think we go with that. These are kind of awkward. I think we give this a shot, see how it plays out. Like, this would be great if this was just Thoughtseize. Like, you know, get rid of your removal spell, threat, and then kind of go to town. But it's worth kind of going from there to see. All right, friend, where are you? So while we wait for our opponent, you'll see a little count above my head right now. Trying to hit 10,000 subs on my YouTube channel. We are about 166 away. So if you enjoy this type of content, we do a whole bunch of meta content. Make sure to join. Okay, so Boros Land to start off. Just gonna change the audio a bit. It's like super aggro. Jeskai Gamer. Alright, so enchant creature gets +1. When this ore is put into a graveyard from battlefield, each opponent loses 1 life. Draw, discard, or create a treasure. So 2 mana haste, that could be a... This is okay, because next turn I can also go Vandal, Thoughtseize if needed. Oh, that was pretty sweet. So I think this turn I'm going to go Ego Drain and Faerie Vandal. And then next turn, because I get the double life gain trigger, what do? Enters the battlefield, exile up to X target creatures. For each of those creatures, its owner may play it for as long as it remains exiled. Whenever one or more creatures enter the battlefield, yada yada. Or make disappear. It's probably got to be make disappear, to be honest. They'll have this like bigger mana stuff. A little bit of a weird one, just trying to go into Tali, but then having the smaller elements for like extraction specialist. The make disappear kind of screws up my mana. So just something to note, I should have tapped the Myrex last turn. Did they draw a counter spell? So that's annoying. Okay, so we drew a land. Start by doing this. Okay, so they're a few turns away. So I think we get into a part of just trying to race them. Like, I could get the Eternal Wander out of the way, because that's kind of their catch-up mechanic. The problem is, like, this specialist is gaining a bunch of life. So the new creature land becomes a 2/1. Okay, so we did get Mastermind. This is a 3/4, so we can just name 7 here. So 1, so 4. Because if they do this X for 1, it gets rid of that. It's probably where we want to be. Nah. Let's do this. I'm just going to use this Mastermind to trade for now. There's so many turns off Italy. Because then I can get this and kind of guarantee the 7 here. This, as long as it's your turn, this creature has first strike when it attacks, scry 1. These have been pretty bad. I think we're going to try replacing these. They just don't do much. Like, if this was any other creature, we would have been able to chump block or just do anything else, like, meaningful. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I think I want to counter Italy here. I can also get this Spell Stutters untapped. So that gets that out of the way. Okay, so we go to 4 here. Let's choose 7. Because if they cast Italy, at least I draw some cards here. Hopefully. Okay, the messenger is pretty good. What'd they hit? Charming Scoundrel, Faerie Fencing. So they don't really get any value from that. We should be okay. So notably, this only works once. So the Wicked roll. goes into the graveyard. Opponent loses a life. Just get a whole bunch of value here. So these fairies have been pretty bad thus far. We got the win, which is one of the important things. I want to see what other fairies exist. Just doesn't do much. We've also drawn like the same 4 cards. Okay, so cut you, Faerie. So your Spellsmaster Sprite enters the battlefield. You may pay 2. If you do, tap target creature, put a stun counter. That's probably the best. Let's get some card styles. Gotta look fresh. Then I just want to check. So we're more blue. So I'm gonna just shift because we are a little bit painful there. Originally I had more black spells in the deck. All right. Fairy time. Plain Saffron Olive. So we got counter, if not Fairy, but our line's most likely going to be Fairy and Kaito, and then hold up counter spells. That's fine. Can't attack or block. We'll let them do that if they want to spend their whole turn. We're fine with it because then I get to double spell the following turn. So Kellen, double strike, other creatures you control get +1/0 for each aura or equipment attached to Kellen. So it's kind of Voltron, but then helps you for a go wide strategy as well. So I like this. Our entire hand can be played at instant speed. You got me. Kaito will let us keep getting value. That's great. So I can play both of these depending on what they do. I actually don't care if they just play Kellen this turn. They could have a removal spell here. Okay. They get Kaito out of the way. Not great, but not the worst. So I'm going to do this. Gets me a bit more power right now. Wasn't necessarily expecting Fateful. Thought we'd see a creature. Exile the top cards of your library. Okay, so they're like Naya Adventures. think we want to protect this. The Vandal's going to be good for us. Like, I kind of want to play this, but then it exposes us a bit. So I think it's just... attack in for the turn. Because we even have the mana for, like, Wild Slash. I think we do this. Because I can just tap this down, so I'm not too worried. Heat Flame Slash is more mana. Got him! Fairies! Alrighty. We'll give Fairies one more shot. Let's see how it plays out. Pretty solid run nonetheless. Venture seems pretty cool. Guess they're trying to go like wide. Don't think I necessarily agree with Kellen in that list. Seems like it's yeah, we'll try this. Playing CGB. Blue-white control. This will get some drains going. Okay, draw 2. It's actually pretty good. Lets me sneak Kaito down this turn. Because then next turn I can flash in a threat and a counter. And if this is like Wandering Emperor, I can counter it. Okay, sneaking it down now. I think we do that. Just pass turn here. Think ossification's fine here. Guess it does get rid of Kaito, but I couldn't counter it anyways. So we'll counter here. So this is the new kind of control finisher. It puts an attacking creature, then gives you a 6/6. Probably should have done this first. Probably a bad matchup. Like, our hands, we didn't put enough pressure on them. We let them, we needed more 1-drops. So, I think just given the number of cards, I'm dead to Sweeper anyways, so I need this to stick. So if they play Farewell, at least I draw a card. If they play the Horn Leech, I get to draw a card. Okay, we are just drawing nothing but Faerie Vandals. And they are drawing nothing but gas. They've drawn 3 Horn Leeches in like the top 10 cards. Top 16. Okay, so this is 6. So that's X equals 4. So I do have enough to deal with it. I mean, this game's literally been us drawing Faerie Vandals and then drawing Horn Leeches. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So I need to keep all my mana up to deal with the Horn Leech. Because this has Ward 2, so I need it. So this is by default. So I'm taking a bit of a chance here. They could have Syncopate. So this will let my Faerie at least chump block the next one. Okay, so they're going to try to find a counter. So I took a chance here, like I said. It was a matter of getting them to at least tap mana on their turn. Because if they had a sweeper, then they're kind of incentivized to just sweep then. But if they have their threat out, they might not sweep. Okay, so we get them there. These are pretty annoying. So I'm doing this now. I guess I should have done 4. They could have had Wandering Emperor. Just quick study. Like, this is a match where I would love Faerie Mastermind. I'm just going all in at this point. I need to just kind of present a clock. They're going to win the long game. They need a sweeper here. If they don't, then I'm okay. But yeah. Farewell continues to be one of the most obnoxious cards there is. They'll bring in... Like, I still hate this card so much. Now, normally I just concede at this point. It's early access, so the intent's you let the person play it out, but... more kind of flooding at this point to compound it. If they didn't have the Field of Ruin and we had like Mirex, would have been okay. Jeez. These things are incredibly obnoxious. Just hold this in hand, make it seem like we have something. Maybe want Memory Delusion this deck. Just play your threat, come on. You'll kill me, let's go. I don't care. We're gonna lose. Like flashing in the thing, they've sculpted their hand too much. These leeches, like those might actually be decent in fairies, to be honest. Well, not a fairy itself. It presents a tempo element, which could be beneficial, and then provides us another flash threat if we do flood out in the games. All in all, fairies were decent. I think like the build we did afterwards was a little bit better, but the 1 mana 3/3 sucked, so I wouldn't play it. It just didn't seem consistent enough, kind of playing it out. But this was okay, but I honestly think if you just cut these, play like the Horn Leech, I think you're okay. It might even be worth playing the full set of Kaitos. Just drawing the extra card every turn was really impactful. So that might be something. Either that or the instant speed divination could also be another interesting kind of inclusion in the deck. Anyways, thanks for watching. Let me know what you think. Catch you next time.